All right. Okay. So good morning. I'm Ingrid and I'm subbing here for Megan. Class title is Beginning Intermediate Pilates. We'll just do some Pilates. It'll be great. It'll feel good to get grounded and centered with this practice. So excited to be here with you today. I normally teach on Thursdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. and do a strength and Pilates class on Sundays. So I feel like I just did this, and I did 24 hours ago. Was in the same space in teaching. So happy to be back here and get myself in alignment and to be with all of you this morning. So let's start out with mini crunch. So we're going to come right on to your back and just bring the body down to do a little check-in. Maybe do a little bit of a shoulder adjustment if you need to, kind of to open the chest a little bit. I think of the shoulder blades sometimes as my wings. And if you ever watch birds, of course, we have chickens. And so just seeing how birds bring their wings back onto their back. And when I come onto my back, it feels nice to kind of fold those wings in a little bit um, onto my back. And that sometimes lets my chest feel a little more open. And nice couple of deep breaths. And bringing your spine to your awareness, just noticing, it starts at the base of your skull. So maybe wherever your head is touching and how that comes down, how the spine comes down between the shoulder blades, between your wings. And let that space get nice and heavy. The rib cage gets heavy. And then coming further down, we have kind of the lumbar vertebra. And not all of those for everyone will touch, but imagine them being able to be supported, that they're resting downward. And then, of course, the pelvis. So the back of the pelvis includes your sacrum, the tailbone, and let that feel a little bit more grounded. Let it be known that you have some contact there, and knowing that with your mind here. So as we go through the practice today, I would like to keep in our awareness kind of that broadness we can feel. Maybe you feel a little bit broader in the back of your pelvis, or broader in the back of your rib cage, or broader in the back of the shoulders. So as we go through, there might be different poses where we'll bring different parts of the back in there, but just letting it have that feeling of spacious or spreading out. And then as you're ready, let's bring the hands together, interlacing the fingers. We'll bring the hand behind the head. So that hammock you just made, bring it behind your head and let your head rest into that space. And the hands can rest on the floor to start. And then just notice the shoulders again. Mine kind of want to already be up in mini crunch. So I'm trying to be in this breath. Letting my shoulders still be nice and broad, my elbows be a little bit broad. And then with intention, let's lift the head, just lifting the head, and let the spine feel the floor again. So the spine, as I lift my head, I really take that space between the shoulder blades and let it come down. And again, that just feels really grounding, really good for my body. Hopefully that feels nice for you too, even though we're not even, we're maybe a third of the way up into our mini crunch. And then we'll continue. Let's come 2/3 of the way up. Starting to use those oblique muscles to bring us upward. And then see if you can come up that next little bit to finally find your way as far as you can up. And I'll just take my hand away. So I'm seeing if I can bring shoulders away. Those wings are starting to come away, the shoulder blades. Breath comes in. Breath goes out. And then let's take an inhale and come down slowly. Inhaling Inhaling, inhaling, and then resting the head. And letting your back get nice and broad again. Maybe that's between the shoulder blades. Maybe that's kind of in this junction here between the ribs and the low back, letting that feel nice and broad. And let's do that again. So coming up just with the head and noticing how you get to ground between the shoulder blades as you come up, and then we start to peel away. Staying nice and broad in the shoulders, in the front of the body, that chest area. Finding your way up, mini crunch. Breath, breath. And then slowly coming back. Can you take that inhale in incrementally, inhaling, inhaling, inhaling as you come back. And we'll take the hands out and rest the head again. Just check in with your jaw, your mouth. My other classes, I've been doing a lot of that exhale out the mouth. So you'll probably hear me throughout class, getting those in. Jaw gets released in the process. All right, and then bringing our attention into the lower half a little more. Knees will come up. And let the knees be straight on, the feet be straight on to start. And I'm going to have that broad along the back of my pelvis. So with my knees balancing, going to have that feeling of spaciousness in the back. And then let's take one heel down, tap, and bring it up. So knee folds, tap, and bring it back up. Shoulders still releasing, relaxing. Mine tend to want to help me out here. If the taps are kind of hard, you could bring your shins down to start. So then you maybe tap to your toe. So your shins aren't as high to start. That's a great place to work as well. Or the shins are a little bit higher, and then maybe you're tapping that heel. Releasing the shoulders. And then coming up, balancing here. You can take a break. The shins could come down. You'd pull the legs in. And then can we take double legs? I'm going to actually connect my feet, not the knees, but just the feet. And I'm going to come down and come back up. See if I can keep that same strength in the back and that same broadness in the back. It's a lot more challenging here. So I'm not even getting my feet all the way to the floor. So maybe I'll bring that angle of my shins in a little bit so I can easily touch the floor and keep some spaciousness in my back. Broad pelvis, broad shoulders, strong core. Couple more here, tapping the toes. And the next time your feet are down, let's go ahead and take a rest. So letting the legs come down. If you were grabbing a little bit in the front of the thighs, it can be nice to just give that a little bit of somatic, touch to that part of your body to smooth it out. Thank you, hip flexors. And just to let that go a little bit. All right, let's take the feet up again. And this time I am going to do a little rotation in my legs. So a little bit of the knees turning outward, connecting the heels, and a little bit of Pilates V with my feet. So toes nice and spread out. Maybe let's reach through the toes even though they're spread out. And just connecting the heels here with the legs turned out, you're probably feeling a little bit of something. If we are pushing the heels toward each other, and then see if you can come back to that broadness in the back. And relaxing anything up in the upper body. Good. And then let the shins come down and give yourself a little break. And then connect in again. And to connect in, we'll add some movement. So as I reach out, I'm going to point the toes Coming in, I'm gonna pull the toes back, reach out, toes, come in, draw them back, flex the feet a little bit, reach out and come in, reach out. And I could reach up toward the ceiling. That's going to be the sort of easier way to do this one. And the more I go at a diagonal or even parallel, the tougher it's going to get here. Reach with the toes and come back. And the next time you pull in, go ahead and bring that in and just let the back be nice and broad again. Worked a little bit with this in classes this week, just that junction area of the kidneys, the adrenals. I think a little bit more on my Thursday class, giving that some space. Good. One more time, connecting in this frog leg-like position. That's what I call it and when I make my notes. I don't know what the specific pose might be or exercise might be, but I'm going to see if I can add this in with my mini crunch. So whether I'm coming up 1/3 of the way, 2/3 of the way, or as much as I can come up, anywhere along there. Nice broad back. I'm going to see if I can do a few of these. Reach, pull in, reach, pull in, reach, pull, reach, pull. 3 and 2 and 1. And bringing the feet down and bringing the head back down. All right. Nice deep breath. And then let's take that right foot and slide it out on the floor. And then toes point, heel reaches, toes point, and bring it back. Other side, reach out, toes, heel, toes, come back. And just notice if you'd like what's happening in your back or in your shoulders. Can things stay pretty steady as you work? A little bit more footwork here is what we're going for. And then just the steadiness in the body. So I keep relaxing my upper body because I don't know about you, but my shoulders seem to want to help me out with this mostly lower body work. Reaching, you could hover a little bit. I'm kind of staying just above my sticky mat, otherwise I'll end up pulling it back with me. It's not very slippery. I'm gonna do one more. Working the feet, relaxing my shoulders. Good. So nice work. That's really good stuff, like staying in one part of the body, working the other part of the body, and just kind of playing back and forth, right? This biofeedback. Really love that. All right. So let's see if we can find our way up, maybe using your legs to find your way up a little bit here. You could use your mini crunch. And then from here, if you'd like, taking the hand away, and we'll work toward the 100. So I'm just going to slowly add on. Upper body started. Slowly add on if you'd like, lifting the heels up. If you'd like, lifting the feet up. If you'd like, lowering the legs just a little bit. And I'm going to start to flap my hands just a little bit faster. Take the breath in and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Relaxing the legs, fronts of the thighs. Go ahead and hold on to them to bring them down, and then coming down with the upper body. And checking in. What did you notice when you came down? For me, it was a little bit, lots of work for my neck. I still was using my belly. The back feels really good. So I'm just going to give my neck and throat another couple breaths. Nice. Okay. So then I don't know, but I think quite a few of us have done a lot of other practices in Pilates. So I'm going to keep going with stuff that maybe isn't on the beginning end of things, but it's also, I don't think it's too hard. So hopefully I'm not losing anybody. You can always let me know if you're a beginner. I meant to ask that at the beginning of class. So I'm just going to turn so you can see what I'm doing with my feet. And as you come on, stay on your back here, kind of folding your wings in again. And we're gonna do the double leg circles. So let's start with coming downward with the legs, outward, and coming back in. Coming down, out, and back in. And I'm gonna keep coming back to that biofeedback loop of what's going on in my shoulders. What's going on in the pelvis? Can I keep things nice and broad? Down the center and around, down the center and out and around, down the center and out. And then pausing here, go ahead and bend the knees if you'd like, and then let the shoulders, let the ribs, everything come back into the floor. And we'll go the other direction. So this time out, down, and back up the center. Out, down, and back up. Nice and broad in the low back area, the pelvis. And then go ahead and bring the legs in again. Let things get nice and broad, and especially feeling maybe for you the low back nice and broad, maybe for you that kidney area feels really grounded, which is lower ribs in the back, or maybe that upper back. Nice. Good. Now let's come on up to seated. Finding your way up to seated. And just seeing how things feel in seated. Grounding now a little more through the sit bones or the pelvis area. And I'm going to bring my feet into that little bit of Pilates V here. And I'm going to start to come into a little more rounded low back, a little more of that Pilates V or Pilates C shape spine. Start to use the belly. And then lifting one foot up and coming back down. Lifting the other foot up and coming back down. You could be hanging on the back of the legs. One foot comes up, the other foot comes up. Broad back. Not collapsed in the front either. So there's that nice equilibrium. And then bring the feet down and go ahead and rest. So just maybe hang on to the legs or come up if you'd like. Good. So then let's try hands to the floor alongside you. It's been really fun to learn to do this one better, to be able to teach this one, and keep working on how to work the legs as you come back, keeping the chest open, and then finding like this nice grounding thing through the palms. So pressing down through the palms, keeping that nice rounded spine. And then let's lift one leg up, reach it out, toe, heel, toe, come back, toe, heel, toe, come back. Really work the foot as you reach out. See if you can get all those toes moving. Toe, kind of waving the toes. Really finding that pinky side of my foot if I can. Sometimes we get into this shoe time of year, wearing our shoes more often, kind of forget or wonder where that outer edge of our foot is. Good. Coming in and then giving yourself a little rest. Maybe taking that nice deep breath into the back here. Good. So let's try similar movement coming down to the elbows. Bring my palms down again. I want to pull the belly in to give me some support. And yet I don't really want to collapse down. I'll show the not do, right? Collapse down into where my chest isn't supported. So I'm actually pressing down into the elbows, have the palms here, bring my feet into a good spot, keeping things nice and steady. Toe, heel, toe. Come back. And you can glide along your carpeting, or if you have socks on and it's nice and slippery, or you can hover. A little bit of rotation in my thigh, that external rotation. So when I go out, it's a little bit in a Pilates V. All right. And then I'm going to press up. Now, maybe that was easier than sitting upright, right? Let's try one more. One more with the hands back behind. I think, trying to remember, is this one where we do this or not? This one doesn't feel so good to me. So I'm going to keep my hands fingertips behind me and find that position. And taking the leg out. And trying the other one. Really finding, even though we have the arms here, that pulling back, the belly supporting. And if you wanted, you could try both legs. I'm going to keep mine on the floor. They're a little sticky. Bring them back in. Probably be better if I could do a little more sliding. And now it does feel like hands out to the side would be better. So maybe you're feeling that too. Like that doesn't work so well once we lift both legs. All right. Let's come down onto the back, keeping that broad pelvis. And then let's bring the hands, the elbows into this position here. And the knees are up. So knees up, fingertips up. And then lifting the feet up, dropping the feet away a little bit. We're going to do a little kick outward, then come back in. Nice broad pelvis. Oh, that feels nice. After what we just did, I'm going to take the hands down, feet apart, hands come back up. Feet apart, hands come back, out, splits, come back in. Feel that nice broad pelvis throughout your movement. Nice. All right. Using one leg, I'm going to take that other leg nice and long. I'm going to use this leg, lift the head, look toward the belly button, reaching through my heel. See if I can find my way upward. And from your upward position, finding that nice broad chest again, taking things into account. So we get nice and broad in the back, we get nice and open in the front, and start to come down. And then come back up. So first I'm going to play with how far I'm coming down in the back. We've kind of talked about broad pelvis, but also broad back all the way up. So lower back, middle back, upper back. So as I come to the pelvis, that rim, and then I come to the lower back, just kind of playing around with how far can I go down and control this movement. So if you'd like that same challenge, you may be used to, oh, I come all the way down, I come all the way back up. But it can be fun to play with. Can I come down just past that pelvic crest to the low back and find my way back up? Can I come down to the lower ribs? Let them ground like we've been talking about, spread out, and then find my way back up. And maybe this one, kissing the edges of the wings of your shoulder blades and finding your way back up. Trying one more. Other side. One more side. We did maybe 6 or so, kind of working with those different areas. And now you got different leg. So I definitely got to that pelvic crest, and I want to come back up. See if I can play around with coming just over that edge to the low back and find my way back up. Really using your heel, that press through your foot to help bring you up, coming more to my low back, broad low back. A little bit further each time. Really feeling a lot of the back placement and then peeling it back up again. Last one. Maybe come all the way to my shoulders and all the way back up again. Nice. Shake it out a little bit. We're in seated. Just going to back myself up a little bit. And then let's tip back into that same position we were just in, really, with each leg. Now both heels are on the floor. And then let's take the hands out in front. I'm going to crawl my feet back in a little bit so that they can land on the floor. And right here, lots of good stuff happening. Really working hard on my belly so my legs don't work so much. If you'd like to move the feet, toe, heel, toe, come back. Toe, heel, toe. Toe, heel. And I'm just going to do one more here. And then grab on to the legs and come on up. So we're going to come on to hands and knees from here. Good. Hope everybody's feeling really nice and warm, nice and put together. The feet have gotten a little bit of awakening here with our flexing and pointing, the legs. All right. Well, and taking your hands underneath the shoulders, just kind of finding out what neutral feels like in hands and knees. After all of that work we did, I bet if I were a betting person, I bet your belly isn't just allowed to go down to the floor. So I bet you're already feeling like those muscles have some muscle memory and they're like, oh, we're going to support the body. We're going to support the back. So noticing that right off the bat. our work is paying off. Nice broad back. And we're going to take that into even more spaciousness. So taking your belly button or just below the belly button and pulling up there, letting your tail tip, starting with the low back. So I'm just going to start there. Belly is pulling inward and it's starting to really expand in my mind. Sometimes it's hard to see. The low back doesn't, the vertebra don't flex as much as up some other parts of our spine. So pulling up there and just imagining nice, big, broad, low back. And then let that come up your spine some more. When it comes into those lower ribs and between the shoulder blades, that's much more familiar to us. And then let your head come down, finding that really nice rounded position, very supported. And then push back with your hands a little bit. Keep that nice round spine, push back a little bit, and come forward a little bit. And release your pose. Come back to neutral. Or if you're familiar with a little more of a cow pose from the yoga practices, like lengthening a little bit, that's fine. And then let's come into that again. So belly pulls in. It flows up the spine, this rounding idea until our head comes down. And then pushing back a little bit. What does that feel like to push back with all that belly work happening? And could you push back so much that you start to take the heels of your hands off and coming up to the fingertips? And then walking back down to the heels and palms of the hands and releasing that rounding in the spine. Good. So taking this onward, belly pulls in, pelvis is tucking some, and as we push back, yeah, there's the hips go back a little bit, and we come up onto the fingertips, and then we walk the fingertips back, and without taking our hips back too far, keeping this nice rounded feeling, see if we can kind of roll up. Not even kind of, see if you can roll up to on the knees. And then see if you can roll down. So chin will tuck, hands will come downward. See if they can start to reach outward, even though the hips balance you backward. It's kind of like when we do squats. We kind of, the further we go down, the more we need our torso to go forward. Reach the hands out, find the palms, and find your way back to neutral. Let's try that again. Belly pulls in. Pressing back, hips go back a little bit. I find that I come up onto my fingertips. Try not to go too far back or really try to keep that work in the belly, in the torso, coming up. And this time, if you'd like, taking the arms out and up. Good exhale there. And then let's take this one more of like a dive. So I'm going to start to round a little more from the upper body, rounding at the rib cage, taking this big dive forward. The hips go back a little bit as we've been doing. Fingertips find the floor out there somewhere. And then coming back neutral. So that's the full thing. We probably should do that once more. I know I maybe said one more, but we should probably do that whole thing one more time. Belly pulls in. Hips go back a little bit. Rolling up. Arms come up. I'm going to take an extra breath here. Next exhale, starting that swan dive forward. Well, I don't know how swans dive, but that's what I keep thinking. Hips go back a little bit. Hands go forward, finding the floor, keeping all that rounding going until I'm ready to come to neutral. Good. Very nice. So, what happens if we take From right here, let's just go to this. From hands and knees. If you need a break, go ahead and take it anytime for your hands or your knees. And let's take one leg back here, one foot back, finding the floor, toes on the floor. And bring that knee back to the floor. And trying the other side, reaching that foot back, toes on the floor. Nice strong leg back there. Bring that knee back in. Good, curling up in the spine. Into a cat pose, rounding the spine, coming up on the fingertips. Rolling up. Arms out and up. Next exhale. That nice dive forward. Walk the hands out a little bit this time. Come to the knees, reach the foot back, reach the other foot back, and up in a plank-like pose. I think this might have a different name. Good, knees come down, rounding the spine. Walking the hands back so you can stack yourself up. Arms out and up. Exhaling forward. Walking the hands out a little bit further than we've been going. So we can take one leg back, the other leg back. Pressing out through the floor with the palms. Nice broad back, broad front as well. Good. 3, 2, 1. And finding your knees coming down. And if you'd like to, using this as a lower down, kind of a push-up. If you come to my strength classes, we work on this quite a lot. Probably need to work on it again this weekend, this coming weekend, on this kind of push-up, pull, and pull-up type work. So we'll keep the hands right here by the side body to start. Nose and chin hover. We talked a little bit about our wings, the shoulder blades on the back. And if we're working with kind of a push-up position, the shoulder blades coming in a little bit, kind of tucking onto the back to start can be really helpful. That engages not only here, but into your triceps. So I'm gonna find that a little bit. Sometimes I think about my elbows squeezing toward each other. Even though they're way there behind my back, they're working toward each other. And I can really feel my upper back working then. Nose and chin, hover. And then if I want, I can start to push with the hands, lifting the chest, lifting part of the ribs. And again, just like we did when we rolled down, we had increments. I might do that here a couple of times. Even though I know I can press all the way up, I can be a little more mindful and kind of seeing where my little weak spots might be if I can do it incrementally. So I'm going to see if I can do that again. Nice length in the back of the neck, nose and chin hover. Inhale, let the nose and chin come up. Exhale, press your hands down, lift the ribs, maybe the belly button. And one thing that'll make this a little bit more challenging for you, remember how I said the elbows are kind of going toward each other? When the elbows are tucked in, it's a whole different ball game. And in my practices, we do both. I'll do a push-up that the elbows are out as well. So there's just two different ways to move, and different body parts are kind of, have different demand depending on which way we go. So let's try this again. Reaching through the crown of the head, inhale. First part of the movement's just lifting the head, getting that nice length. Second part, pressing down, belly lifts. Maybe the pelvis comes up this time, up to the knees, lowering back down. Nice broad back. One more like that. Inhaling, exhaling, pressing down. Maybe finding the way up with the knees. And the tricky part, of course, is letting the head, hips, legs kind of all go together rather than this and then this and then. So it's like getting that nice smooth movement. Taking your hands out and alongside the body here. So what happens if we let the shoulder blades just come on out, wrapping around the body, the arms doing nothing. We get a face plant for the head. But I can take that breath in and again feel that nice broadness in the middle of the back, maybe a broadness in the low back after that work. And then just lifting the arms up off the floor to hovering. You might take a little peek what's going on in the shoulder blades. So you could keep them hanging toward the floor, but almost immediately as your hands come up, those shoulder blades want to come in a little bit. Not as much as they were to do the push-ups, but still some work going on in the upper back, nice and broad, and yet really on deck for us. So staying right here, let's do a little inhale. Reaching through the crown of the head, letting the nose and chin lift. Exhale, coming down. Inhaling. Think of broad in the back. Exhaling, coming back down. So it doesn't have to be that you're moving very far here. And then let's add some arm movements. Inhaling, arms at your side. Exhaling, taking the arms out to T. Inhaling, moving back. Exhaling. Out to the side. Inhaling. And exhaling. Rotating my hands as they come out into that T. They rotate palms downward. Good. And then bring your hands forward and then just support the head. Okay. So I have a pile of blankets or a bolster, and I think everybody here has probably worked on what we're going to do next. But I just wanted to show, and we could have used this earlier when we were working with kind of that roll down and coming into the roll down in increments, like using that bolster to find out how far you're going to is a really nice way, right? So we used a lot of biofeedback, the body. Can I feel that pelvic crust, or can I feel my low back, or can I feel that I'm getting into this the end of the wing of my shoulder blade or something like that. This is a nice way to work as well from that with that. So we're going to work with teaser, and we'll come from the top here. And I'm just going to have that bolster there. If I'm not a more experienced person, maybe that's a little bit better. If I'm more on the beginning end of things. So I'm going to walk the feet back, hanging onto the backs of the legs, and coming back into that C position. Now I can't feel my bolster, so I'm going to just pull it up. Again, you don't have to have it at all. If you know where we're going with teaser, no biggie. Just like to sometimes show how the props can be really helpful. So I've got that bolster there or a pile of blankets, and I'm back on it. And I'm not really leaning on it, but I've got that contact of, there it is. And then lifting up one leg. Let's just keep that leg at knee height, trying the other leg. And bringing that foot down and the other foot down. And then you could roll up. and then coming back. Try that one more time, lifting up the other side first, lifting up second side, and bringing the feet back down. Good. So that's essentially where we go with teaser, but part of teaser is that we actually move into it. So now I'm going to come down to that bolster or all the way down to the floor, and then I'm going to find my way up. So same thing. I'm going to use my legs here. I'm going to use the weight of my legs. Oh, that feels nice. Nice broad back happening again. So I'm broad in the upper back. I've got a little support from my bolster, but if I came from the floor, I would just need to support my head a little bit more, probably with my own strength. And now I'm going to connect the feet, connect the legs, and see if I can take myself up, 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 over that pelvic crest again. Balance. And then can we control it coming down and finding a spot to rest? So let's try two more at your own pace here, finding your way up. And we can add on little pieces if we wanted to. Hands could come away. Doing a little balance there, hands come back. And then it's the control on the way down. Again, you may be coming all the way down. I'm just using my nice little bolster for my wings here. My scapula kind of end up right there. And then try one more time. Using that core, using my legs a little bit to come up over that ridge. Hands could come away. Good. And then hands coming back. Nice. And then I'm gonna roll from, you can rest on your back there if you want for a breath or two, but ultimately we're gonna come up to the feet. So if you come to my other classes, I think my favorite prop is to have a chair nearby. So when we're doing balance things, if for some reason the day you show up for class, the balance isn't quite there, it really helps just having a fingertip or lightly resting your hand on something. The wall or a chair are really nice for that. We're going to come into the feet a little bit here at the end. See how we feel standing after all of that great integration. How does your back feel? Especially this part of the back, but maybe even this part of the back, right here, middle, or maybe it feels nice and open in the upper back. Hopefully, we found some nice movements for that. Okay, take your feet a little wider than shoulder distance. And then let's take a little shift, shifting your weight to one side and shifting your weight to the other side. And I'm letting my other foot heel come up. And then just feeling my feet. Kind of love these sticky mats because you sink into them kind of like a Tempur-Pedic memory foam thing. I can just really feel the feet. Little softness in my knees. Good. And if you are using a chair here, when we end, I want you, or when we stop on one side, so now I'm stopped on one side, I'm going to kind of stay on this side now. So I can do some reaching out here. I'm just going to take that foot out to the side. My foot is in parallel at this point. So as I reach out, I'm thinking about kind of the side of my foot reaches out, or even my heel. So I'm almost rotating inward a little bit. It doesn't even have to be that far that we go out, right? As you do these reps, I think you'll probably feel it in both legs. Standing leg gets a lot of work. Outside leg gets a lot of work. Good. Staying on this side. You can come to both feet for a moment and then shifting weight to this side again. Let's tap in front, out, behind, out, in front, and back, out, side, back, side, front, center, front, out, back, out, front, center. Good. How's that feel? Like one side is a little bit different than the other for me. Good. So let's find our way back to the end of that shifting weight. I'm just going to take my chair. It's a nice light chair. Take it to the other side. So maybe you turn around, maybe you do whatever you do. Again, that little broader distance for the feet and shift your weight again. Really feel your feet, your toes. Remember how we were fanning the toes out earlier? Are they still, can you feel that pinky side of your foot? You could even add a little lift. Settle it down, lift, lift. Good. Core working. Nice stability there. And then come to that first side. Go ahead and shake it out if you'd like to. Come to both feet. And then that first side standing. And we'll do those side lifts. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be that you're kicking way out to the side to get into the part of the hip that we're trying to strengthen. It's actually part of the glutes. The glute medius and minimus are over here on the side of your body a little bit. You might feel it a little bit underneath or right around that greater trochanter over here. We sometimes talk, that's our hip, but it's not really the hip joint. The hip joint's much more central. Good. So then we'll take the feet together. My standing leg needed a little break, a little juiciness to it. And then I'm going to take it back to that standing leg and go front, side, back, side, front, center. Good. Let's do that again. A couple more times, a couple more rotations. Center, out, side, back, side, front, center. Do we have one more? Out and front, side, back, side, front, center. Yeah, so this leg feels really good. This leg really felt that work. Good. Let's take that into a little bit of, just to end, a little bit of ankle work. Not that we haven't found it at all today, we did, but this is in standing. So I'm switching sides, lifting the heel. If you've attended classes, probably with anybody here, you've done this work. Heel lifts. So we can lift, land, and lift, and land, or we can start to move them together. So as you're bringing one down, the other one's coming up. One comes down and one goes up. Hands could come to the back of the head, or hand could be at that chair. Spreading the toes, fanning the feet out. See if you can spend a little longer in the up position just for fun. So when they're both up, you kind of slow motion at that point. Slow motion at the top. Really feeling ball of the foot and the musculature of the foot that way. And then bring the feet down. Good. One solid movement. Feet, toes forward, knees forward. Nice juicy knees. And let the knees bend. Just checking out, how does it feel keeping the heels on the floor? How How does your body feel from the feet up? Maybe this is a little stretchy in your calves. Maybe we got everything warmed up. Maybe it feels asymmetrical. That's all part of the biofeedback. How does that feel? Little chair, and then come back up. Good. And done. So, hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Hope you find a little walk. Charlie and I were talking about getting in a walk today before it rains up here in the Chippewa Valley. So, lovely to see you all. If you check in on the video, love to hear if you have any questions. Love to hear if you have any questions now. So good to meet you if we haven't had a practice together before. Bye. Bye, Lois. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one, everybody. Yeah, it was fun.
Yes. Awesome workout.
Yeah.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Charlie.